Hey guys, welcome back. Now, it's been a while since we've reviewed a product from Switchbot. If you're not familiar, Switchbot is a brand of a whole range of different smart home products, and they started with a device called a Switchbot, one of my absolute favorite and one of the most unique smart home products out there. But after the success of the Switchbot, they've released a whole range of different smart home products to create this entire Switchbot ecosystem. And I gotta say, with the latest one that I'm reviewing today, my opinion on them has not changed. So the Switchbot device I'm reviewing today is the Switchbot K10 Pro robot vacuum and mop. Now there's quite a lot to unpack, literally, when it comes to the box. You get a whole bunch of different accessories, you get your manuals and a whole bunch of different cards and documents. Now I'm not usually the kind of guy that would read manuals, I'm not a fan of manuals. They're usually pretty simple, but for this, I would say read the manual from start to finish, make sure you understand the product and everything that it does. I'm not saying it's a complicated device or difficult to set up or anything like that, actually quite the opposite. But they do have a lot of features and you just want to make sure that you are using it to the full extent of its potential. Now back to the unboxing, you do get a few what they call like a brush, like a hairbrush kind of thing. You only need one for the robot vacuum at each time, but they give you another one as an extra just in case, a really nice touch. You get a bag of wet wipes, and I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later on. You also get a couple of bags for the dirt that the vacuum is going to suck up, and then you got your vacuum obviously, and you actually get a base station. Now first, the robot vacuum, I would say, I have no complaints. It's built really well. Most of these robot vacuums, they are pretty big. Generally they've got a diameter of about 360 to 370 mm. This one is sort of a mini robot vacuum. It comes in at only about 248 millimeters. And you might be thinking, why would I want something so small, or does it mean it's not so powerful? But despite its size, it's built really well. Again, no complaints. It is chock full of different sensors. It's got a wall sensor, it's got a PSD sensor. Even the vacuum itself, like the front of it, it's actually got a bit of a bumper that moves so that, if it hits a wall or something, it doesn't damage. And next, obviously, you got the base station as well. Now, despite it being a small or a mini robot vacuum, the base station is pretty big. Not too big, it's still a good size, but what I meant by big was that now a lot of vacuum cleaners with base stations, they give you a dust bag that holds about 2 liters, maybe 3 liters. This one gives you a whopping 4 liters, all right? Which is great because that means that, you can leave it, set it, and it'll be a while depending on the size of your house and how generally dirty it gets. But yeah, I've been testing this for a whole month, right? I've been testing it, it's been cleaning every day for a month, and I still haven't had to clean it yet. I'm sure I'm gonna get a notification that I need to clean the bag, but after a month, I still have not got it. And having said that, that dust bag, you actually get 2. So I've always praised Switchbot for the number one, attention to detail and really, really nice design and a lot of genius features. And the dust bag is actually a really good example. So first of all, installing the dust bag in the base station, really easy. You got the bag and then you've got like a cardboard sort of a slot that's built into the bag, and that's where you slot into the base station. What I really like is that if you need to remove so that you can replace the bag, that cardboard actually, when you lift it up, it lifts up and covers the whole of the bag so the dust doesn't fly out when you lift it up. That's genius. And for the base station, again, no complaints, built really well. It is mostly plastic, but it feels like a really good plastic. It's not creaky or doesn't look cheap at all. I really like that. Even the lid where you open up to put the dust bag, if it's not closed properly, you get a notification. Now, setting up the K10 Pro is really easy. You don't need access to water or any pipes or anything. You can place it basically anywhere near a power supply or a wall plug. You can plug that in. Really easy, and setting it up on the Switchbot app, also really simple. It detects it automatically. I can set it up, I can rename it, put in whatever room I want, really easy. And then this is the part that gets a little bit more complicated. Not extremely difficult, just a little, I would say, tedious. And you need a bit of adjustment to sort of get the settings right. In fact, it took me a whole week before I got the robot vacuum working the way I wanted it to. Now, on the first run, it'll actually scan your entire house or apartment or wherever you live. And it will use, I think it's a LiDAR sensor. It goes around and it scans your entire home or wherever you want it to vacuum. And of course, it doesn't go upstairs. I don't think anyone would expect it to. But yeah, it's basically by floor. And once it's done, it actually shows you on the app whatever it scans. So you basically get a layout of your apartment. That's pretty cool. Now, Switchbot will actually, and it's pretty clever, it actually sort of understands like each individual room and can sort of color code everything. I didn't have to color code the rooms. It actually did it by itself, and it'll just go like room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can rename it, really simple. So you can schedule it like what I've done. So I've scheduled the vacuum to clean my apartment every day at about 1 a.m. when we're all sleeping and it's not bothering anyone. And speaking of bothering anyone, I was a little concerned that my dog Nova would not like the vacuum cleaner, or even worse, might like try to destroy it or something. Wasn't bothered at all. It just looked at it and looked at me like it was confused, but it didn't really care. Sometimes when my dog is on the floor, the robot vacuum comes right to it and it just stays there. It doesn't care. And I think a big part of it is the fact that it's so quiet. So of course, to the most important thing, how does it fare with the actual vacuuming or cleaning? And I would say for the most part, it's really good. Now, I did have one concern. Now, a lot of robot vacuums, when you talk about the suction power, it's measured in PA, and they generally tend to be within the 4,000, 5,000, maybe even 6,000. Now, this Switchbot K10 Plus Pro, because it's so small, I'm guessing it probably can't fit a really strong motor. So this is the part that I'm still a little bit confused by. Now, it actually shows 4 modes for speeds. It goes from 600 PA all the way up to 3000 PA, and on the website they show you like what it can pick up at what suction power, which is great. However, when you go into the Switchbot setting, and maybe there's a chance that I didn't see the setting, but I don't see a setting where you can manually set at what power you want the vacuum to run. So maybe it does it automatically. Maybe when it goes to something and it detects what it is, maybe it can ramp itself up to, clean it. Maybe, I have no idea, but I could not find that setting at all in the Switchbot app. And yeah, so even at its strongest at about 3000 PA, it's about half, as much as a lot of other robot vacuums out there. Now, having said that, this is not an expensive vacuum as far as robot vacuums are concerned. And don't forget, this has a mop function as well. But in terms of being a vacuum, I would say it is pretty good considering the suction power, considering the size of the vacuum. Now, I will say though, when I left it to vacuum and I watched it and I filmed while it cleaned the living room and all that, it did miss quite a few things. So it actually boasts, being able to suck up, pet hairs, and it doesn't entangle. And that is true. We've been running the vacuum for a month. It has never stopped to say that it's entangled or the brush is stuck or anything else. So that's really good. Having said that, you do need to remove that brush every now and then because the hair does get stuck, but any robot vacuum requires maintenance, and this is no different. But the fact that it can still run is really good. But yeah, like I said, it cleans everything else really well. But I do notice a lot of Nova or my dog's hairs lying around even after it's done. So is it a absolute replacement for vacuuming the house? Maybe not. But then again, if you don't have a pet, if your house doesn't get really dirty, it's a good time saver. If you're out at work a lot and you don't have time, or you don't have the weekend to spend to clean your house, having your robot vacuum just clean the apartment every night or do a decent job of it every night saves you a lot of time. But for us, apart from the pet hairs, because I think maybe because it's really light, everything else, it did a really good job. Another concern I had was being a smaller robot vacuum, like how was it going to deal with obstacles? And honestly, surprisingly well. In the way my apartment is built, every room of the house, like the kitchen and the living room, has a bit of a wooden lip over it, right? The vacuum is able to go over it with ease, no issues whatsoever. When it comes to carpets, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Most of the time it does really well. There are some times if like I accidentally walk over a carpet and it flips over and then the vacuum goes over it does get stuck. But I don't think that's just a Switchbot. I think most robot vacuums would have that problem. Now, a really nice thing as well is that you can set no-go zones. Like for example, there are certain areas like where his food bowl is, his water bowl, the kitchen, we'd rather not him going there and clean because they've got wires running down the floor. And that makes it a lot easier. So it really depends on your use case. For us, the main area that we wanted to clean is the living room and our bedroom. And it does that no problem. Now, up to this point, I've only been talking about the vacuum function of the robot vacuum. Now, there's also a mop feature, like Switchbot, markets. But I don't know if you can call it a mop. Now, a lot of robot vacuums do have an actual mopping feature, like a mop brush built into it. This is a little different. So in the box, you actually get a plastic plate as well, that whenever you want to use it as a mop, get that wet wipe that I told you was included in the box, you take one out, wrap it around that plastic piece, and then put it on the Switchbot robot vacuum. And then once you do that, the mop automatically identifies that the plastic piece has been put on the vacuum and it will switch to mop mode. And yeah, so I think you know where I'm going with this. It uses that wet wipe and it wipes the house. So it's not really a mop. In my opinion, it's more of a robot wet wiper. And one thing Switchbot said was that they mentioned in the manual that you should get about 20 minutes of wiping. Now, that's not what I experienced. I think within 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes, it didn't wipe as well. And you could tell, because when it first started, you can see the trail of where it's wet and really nice and clean. But within 5 to 10 minutes, it was gone and it was just dry everywhere. And then once you lift up the vacuum, you can see all the dirt and pet hair stuck to it. Now, I don't think that's Switchbot's fault in a sense. I think, like I mentioned, we have a dog that sheds a lot, So if you have a dog that sheds a lot, within 5 minutes, all the hair is going to get covered on that wet wipe. So it's not going to last 20 minutes for sure. But going back to my previous point, if you have a home without a dog and your house is generally clean, you just want to make it and maintain it to be clean, it will probably do a really good job. All right, so let's talk about the price. Now, first of all, I want to set sort of a benchmark. A lot of vacuums nowadays that have a mop combo are really expensive. You're talking $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 US. They're really expensive. Now, granted, when most of the really expensive ones say they have a mop feature, it's a proper mop with a brush or like a mop brush built in. This one is sort of a wet wipe, but can still do the job if it sort of fits your scenario. This one is a fraction of the price, all right? So at release, it's right now $599 US, which is really cheap compared to all the other mop and robot vacuums. Having said that, there is a code now. If you go to the Switchbot website, you can get $200 off. So that brings it down to $399 US. To me, if you're looking for a robot mop vacuum sort of combo, and you don't want to splash that cash, I know I haven't. I've always wanted to try one, but I've never paid that kind of money because I think it's a little ridiculous. But at $399, it's hard to say no. I think it's something that you can try out, and if you realize that it's not for you, you haven't broken the bank to try it out. And the funny thing is, Switchbot actually has a K10 Plus without the Pro, so like a regular version, and that's $399. But the K10 Plus Pro is $599 minus the $200 code, so that brings it down to $399. So I don't know if anybody's going to buy the regular K10. Now, Switchbot also has a S10 robot vacuum cleaner, and that one looks like it has a proper mop brush attached to it. It's quite a fair bit more expensive at about $1,200 USD. It also has a discount code, so you can get it for a lot less. I haven't tested that out, but if you want me to do a comparison between the two, let me know. But honestly, right now with the K10 Plus Pro, with our apartment, it's not a big apartment, it's a relatively small apartment. The nice thing about the vacuum is that because it's so small, it fits everywhere. It can go under our cupboards. It can go through all the shelving that we have. It does a really good job. There are places that I wouldn't bother to vacuum that it does easily. So for us, I think it does a perfect job. And for me, it's going to get a Technobabble recommended logo, and it is going to get 4 out of 5 stars. All right, and that about wraps up my review of the Switchbot K10 Plus Pro robot vacuum and mop combo. Now, if you like this video, you know what to do, and I would love it if you were subscribed to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications on our next video. I'm JP, and I'll see you real soon.